everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be part 2 in my Jobs for God series, and today I want to talk about your resume and how you apply for a job and how I personally would advise you to do it. Now, these are all guidelines and things that I learned from my past jobs, also working as a job consultant, so I hope this will be somewhat helpful for you and that you maybe use some of these tips to find your next job. Now, first things first, your resume. This is a very important piece of paper that you will use to apply for jobs. Now, there's a few things that your resume has to contain. First of all, your personal information. Now, this has to include your full name, where you currently live, so your full address, and also how the company can reach out to you. This can be your email address, this can be your phone number, and most of the times I like to use both, so I will list both my email address and my mobile phone number on it. Now, what I would also recommend you doing is that if you have a driver's license and a car, to mention it. And if you don't have a driver's license, maybe mention how you move around. So how do you get to the job? Do you take public transport? Do you have a bike? Do you have a motorcycle? Do you have something else? I would recommend to always list that on top as well, because that is the basic information to see where you live, what your name is, and how would you come to your job. For example, if you were to apply for a job in Antwerp and you live in Ghent and you move by public transport and the company is in an industry zone that isn't reachable by public transport, they might not withhold your candidacy. So if you have a driver's license and a car, I would definitely mention it on top of your resume as well with your basic information. And the next part is most of the time your job history, and this is always best to put in anti-chronological order, so the job you have done latest will come on top and the oldest job will be at the bottom of that list. Now, in your job history, how I do it is I first put the company where I worked at, then my job title, and then from when to when I worked there. So for example, I worked from September 2016 to February 2017 at the same company. That way it makes it easier for the people who are recruiting you to see what you have done, where you have worked, for what time periods, and if you have done something else in between. For example, if you took an extra year of study, I will also really encourage you to include it between. And in your job history, I would not write a complete book on the jobs that you did. I would keep it short and simple. I think most resumes can be made into one page, and it is plenty, because most recruiters don't have the time to open up a resume that is 5 pages and read everything. They want to see it when they open it in one blink of an eye. They want to see who you are, what you have done, where you come from, etc. So your job history, I would just write the basic info, like the main tasks you did at that job, and if the company is interested in you, they will invite you for a job interview and they can ask you all the questions that they want about your jobs, and you can give further explanations. Now, if you just come from school and you haven't had any jobs yet, you can always put your study history first. What I would also always do is mention if you got the degree. For example, when I started my studies, I first did international management for 1 year before switching to office management, which I finished eventually. So I always put next to my first international management studies that I didn't complete it. Why? Because otherwise sometimes companies might assume that you got a degree but you don't have it, or you don't have it yet, or you haven't finished those studies, etc. And also, if you are new, if you just come from school, I would always also mention your student jobs and your internships. And why? Because it shows that you can work, that you want to work, and that you have some experience already. So if you look at my personal resume, on top you will have my basic information, then you will have my job history really short because it's only 4 jobs. Then I will mention my bachelor's degree that I got. I do not even mention my other studies that I've done before because it is not relevant anymore. Then beneath that, I always put my extra assets. What that means: if you speak multiple languages, I would mention it there. If you know how to work with certain IT systems, if you can work with Word, PowerPoint, Excel, if you can work with internet or email or Outlook, whatever, you can always mention it there as well. And if you have any specific qualifications. For example, if you know how to weld or if you know how to work with electricity and that is relevant to the job that you're applying for, I would also mention it there. And then at the total bottom of my resume, I have like a extra session, and that are my hobbies and my interests. Why? Because when I applied for my current job, they did look at my hobbies and my interests, and because it is a company that does in pet food, they want people who are interested in pets, and I love cats, so I had mentioned cats on my resume, and that is one of the reasons why they invited me in the first place. So your hobbies and your interests can be very relevant, but I would also suggest to keep them as neutral as positive. Now, I like doing sports, I like doing airsoft, but most people don't know airsoft, and if they Google it, they will find a very aggressive sport. So I just mentioned sports. I will include a basic picture of how my resume looked when I was applying for my last jobs, and you will see that there is no picture on my resume. Now, this can often be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on what type of job you are looking for and how you look. Because face it, when you get a picture of someone, you are way more easy to judge them than if you just have a name. So that's why I would encourage you not to put a picture on your resume. If they want to know who you are, they should just invite you and then they will see who you are, which makes way more sense to me personally. Then we come to the second point. When you have your resume ready to go, you should know how to apply for a job. Now, the first thing I do when looking for a job is being self-critical. Will I be able to do at least 50% of the job contents right now before being taught any of it? If yes, I will maybe apply for that job, and then I will look at their criteria. Now, a lot of companies put criteria on the job that are way too severe, that are way extended over what they are actually looking for, because they don't know what they are looking for. So they just put as many things as they want, because there is no limit on things they can ask for, and they will just start looking for people. Now, if you meet 50% of those requirements, I would highly suggest you applying for that job. But look out for basic requirements. For example, if they ask someone who can speak English, Dutch, and French, and you only speak English, I would not apply for that job. If you can speak 2 of those languages, or all of them, I would apply for that job. If they ask that you have a car and that you can displace yourself easily without using public transport and you don't have a car, I would not apply for the job, because it's often because the companies are in not so easy to reach areas, which often is the case for bigger companies because they're in industry zones. Now, I would also always look at the study requirements. Now, most companies will ask you have to have a bachelor's degree, but if they don't specify which bachelor's degree and you just have a regular college degree, I would still apply. Why? Because often they're looking for people who have experience, etc. In regards to experience, you always have to take it with a tiny bit of a grain of salt, as we say it here in Belgium. You have to look at the experience, divide those years by 2, and then you will get the experience that they actually want. If a company wants someone who has no experience, of course anyone can apply to it. If they're looking for someone between 2 and 5 years of experience, if you only have 1 year of experience, still apply for that job, because they're open to candidates who have little experience. So you really have to know that if you apply for a job, the company is looking for someone and that you might be the perfect candidate. Next, why would you want that job? List for yourself a few reasons why you would want to work for the company and why you would want to do that position. And that is going to be the basis of your job application email or letter. Now, what I personally like to do is have a shorter email and then a longer letter attached to my email, so that they can just easily read what I have to say in their email. And if they're interested, they will open my resume and open my letter that has all the information. So you really have to try and sell yourself to the company in one email. So one email fits into one screen. That's the basics that you have to remember about it, because if it is bigger, people have to start scrolling and it's not easy for them to read everything at once, and they will skip things or they will just not read it. Also, use paragraphs, use air in your mail, so keep lines open so that it's easier to read tiny blocks of text than to just read one continuous text. And at the end of that email, I will always ask to come for a job interview. So I will tell them that I'm very interested in their job and that I would like to come and present myself to give them more explanations about me and that they can get to know me and see if I'm fit for the job. Now, if you send an email to most companies, you will get a reply that they are looking at your resume. Now, what I like to do if I don't get an answer is forward my email to the company again and then telling them that I've applied for the job. I haven't had any replies yet or any answers yet, and I would like to know if they have well received everything. And that is basically what I write into that email. I keep it very basic, very short. Why? Because it will kind of remind them that, oh, this person is interested in this job, and it will give you the advantage over the people who don't do it. So you will be getting at the top of their list again, where other people are getting lower and lower into the list of people who are applying for that job. Now, if you're going through a recruitment agency such as Vivaldi's, at which I worked at, and you don't get a reply within the week, that is really odd. So if that happens, I should highly recommend you to contact the recruitment agency and ask them if you can come around to present yourself. Now, of course, if you're already in the system of that recruitment agency, you should always ask for feedback, because I want feedback if I apply for a job, even if it is to tell me that I didn't make the cut for that job. Now, if companies or if people tell you that you didn't make the cut and that they don't give you a reason why, you can always ask why. Now, most of the time it will be because someone else has more experience, someone else has the right degree for it, they had a candidate in running already. So there can be all sorts of reasons, but that should not discourage you. So I hope this will encourage you, if you are looking for a job, to go for it, to find a job that you really like and to actually apply for it. Now, next week I will be making part 3 to this series, and that is how to prepare for your job interview and what I personally advise you to do for a job interview. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. I make new videos every week and I would love to have you for every single one of them. And until next time, see you soon. Bye!